Hey! Right, I've got a bit of an announcement. Usually I take a couple of weeks off at Christmas and a couple of weeks off during the summer months to recharge my batteries and just, have a bit of R&R. There is quite a lot of stress and pressure getting 2 videos out a week. And if you don't step back and take a break every now and again, you can suffer from burnout. But this 2 weeks off thing that I found in the past, it doesn't really work for me. I don't really get to switch off properly. And by the beginning of the second week, I'm already planning videos for the following week. You've got to, otherwise you just don't have anything ready on time. So I thought I would try something new this year. I don't have a particular time scale set in my head, although I'm thinking probably at least a month. I'm going to sort of take a break and just produce 1 video a week on a Friday. This is going to allow me to, sort of spend some time with the family, get out and do some trips, just sort of allowing me to make 1 video a week without all that pressure that 2 videos bring. I mean, generally it's sort of 4.5 days work, and that's before I start dealing with channel admin, which is a whole other full-time job on its own. So with this in mind, as you may have noticed, I've been sort of prepping the Bullet for some trips. She's not necessarily the only bike that I'm going to be using on these trips, but I just think she's going to make such an awesome, relaxed tourer that I have been gradually prepping her for some longer journeys and carrying luggage. I don't normally give bikes names. I know some people do. There's nothing wrong with that. I haven't got a problem with it. I don't generally give names to my bikes. But sort of in my head, this bike's become affectionately known as the Mule. She's pretty, she's small, she's strong but not fast. She has a personality the size of a planet, and so far she's proven trustworthy. We've covered just over 2,000 miles together, which I know to some people isn't a lot in a year, but I run a lot of motorcycles, so it's difficult to put a lot of mileage on one individual bike. Now, once again, today's video is courtesy of my patrons. Selfless people that once a month donate just a little bit of cash that assists me in buying products for review, so I can try them out and tell the whole world about them. I would be lost without these people, but it doesn't just benefit me. Their generosity benefits everyone that watches this channel, and I think they deserve our thanks. Luggage is a big consideration for any motorcyclist. I think I probably get more questions and queries about luggage than any other subject. Even if you're just going away overnight, you need to be able to carry the essentials with you. And for me, as well as just sort of clothing and toiletries, I need all my video equipment, camera, spare batteries, a tripod, and even my drone. So 2 average-sized panniers quite simply isn't enough. I need more luggage carrying real estate. And once again, I've turned to Royal Enfield's Genuine accessories with their luggage rack for the Classic. I've had the pannier frames on this bike for over a year now. For sheer usability, they are quite possibly the best pannier rails I've ever owned. They're built like the 4th bridge, the strong, the durable, and so the addition of this rack for under £80 just seemed like the sensible way to go. Because of the Classic's unique chassis, this rack is a sort of a semi or almost cantilever design. It replaces the pillion pad using the same mounting points as the rear seat, so it should also be very strong. The width of the rack is about average, but it is a lot longer than your average luggage rack, and I don't know whether it's just a happy design coincidence or whether Royal Enfield have done it intentionally, but to a larger extent that loop underneath the rack will act as a strap retainer to stop your straps from sliding about and destabilising your luggage. Despite this rack using the same mounting points as the rear seat, Royal Enfield have seen fit to put a 5 kg load limit on it. Now, I'm not suggesting for one moment that you should ignore that, but I do believe this is a conservative limit. It's certainly a sensible limit for the stresses and strains that could be caused if you're riding on unmetalled roads. But on normal tarmac, I think it could probably handle a little bit more than that. As with the pannier rails, the matching black powder coating is well done, and I expect it to be as durable as the same finish on the pannier rails. At the front of this rack there is a fork with two tubular brackets, and these are designed to engage with the tubular bracket underneath the seat for the forward attachment point. Now, this rack doesn't come with any fasteners. You're expected to cannibalise the bolt from the seat that presumably you've removed, and the fasteners for the other attachment points are already in situ in the form of the upper shock mounting bolts. Now, fitting this rack is actually a really quick and simple job, but the big problem that I came across, which is often the case with Royal Enfield parts, is that the instructions didn't acknowledge that you may have pannier rails fitted. It didn't mention them at all. So this left me with doubt as to whether this fits over the pannier rails or whether this should be fitted and then the pannier rails refitted over the rack brackets. Bearing in mind that as this is a straight replacement for the rear pillion, I expected that you would have to remove the fasteners for the pannier rails and insert the rearmost brackets for this rack in between the top shock mounting bracket and the pannier rail bracket. Now, the built-in tolerances will allow you to do this, but it does make fitting a little bit more difficult. And it was evident to me that when you actually tightened it up, it was putting undue stress on the entire assembly. Now, obviously, if you don't have the pannier rails, it's going to fit just fine. But then fitting the pannier rails over the top of this assembly, to me, just didn't feel right, and it didn't look right to my eyes. So, if you don't have the pannier rails fitted and you want to fit one of these racks, obviously just follow the instructions. But if you have the pannier rails fitted, this is what I would suggest. Once you've removed your seat, that is, if you have a rear pillion pad fitted, leave your top shock mounting nuts loose. You don't necessarily have to remove them. You can if you want to, but the important thing is you need to make sure that you've got enough clearance, that they're slack enough that you can insert those forks at the rearward mounting parts of the rack. Then slide the forked brackets of your rack over the pannier mounting brackets. Now, this is a tight fit and it won't go on smoothly unless you get the angle absolutely right. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and slide the bolt that you've taken from your seat through the series of brackets and pop the nut on. This will effectively lock everything in place so nothing's going to move out of place. Once you've done that, you can then go ahead and tighten up those top shock nuts. It might appear that there's not an awful lot of thread to facilitate this, but it's just a matter of taking up the slack in the series of brackets that are in place. And if you have removed the nut altogether, don't forget to replace the spring washer. When you've done that, you can go ahead and tighten up that bracket under the seat. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Once installed, this is an immensely strong luggage rack. I haven't quite decided as yet which bag I'm going to be putting on it, or indeed what combination of panniers and bags I'm going to be using, because I do have quite a few to choose from. There is still part of me that wishes that Royal Enfield had made polished stainless steel or chrome racking systems, but then it would push the price up substantially. Either way, this complete system does match in quite nicely with the bike. It's very workmanlike, built to do a job rather than just to look pretty. Once again, I obtained these from MotoGB, but I've noticed that Hitchcock's also stock them, in which case I will leave links to both companies. This Friday, among other things, I've got some prototypes from Moto & Customs for the Interceptor 650 to show you, so make sure you don't miss that one. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please leave a like, and if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. It is absolutely free, and if you hit the notification bell and ensure that your notifications are enabled, you will be alerted whenever I upload a new video. As I've said, I will be back on Friday, so until then, make the most of this glorious weather, but please ride safely. I'll see you soon.